Okay, guys, we have Jacob Claspill with us. We met Jacob at the PCDL this past summer. Here working with the high school kids today. It's what you do.
Yeah.
You're the head of the high school program, correct?
Yes, yeah.
You know, we were just talking over here. We were watching you guys do, you and Austin, working on a drill over there. You know, how common is that? Do you guys just go through different drills and think about things? And
I mean, it's not like all we do in here is spend a bunch of time thinking of new ways and new drills that we think can help athletes. It's just like a small thing that we do. But when we see something, we don't always want to just take it for what it says is supposed to help. We don't believe that one drill fixes everything.
Right.
We believe that one drill might help one athlete, or maybe two or three, and we want to be able to feel it out, right? Yeah. We don't want to rely completely on the athlete's feel to tell us if a drill works or not. Like, we're going to have to, like, and at the end of the day, the end result is going to tell us a lot. But that's why if I ever see something that I like or I want to test, I'm not going to just do it myself, right? Because my body works a certain way. So I want to get someone else's opinion. So I usually ask Rich, and we'll see what he feels and how he feels. And then it's just an open conversation, really, of, well, this is what the original drill was supposed to look like, but maybe this is how we make a variant of it, and this is what we would use it for, and this is how we would attack it, and maybe it works for this athlete specifically, or maybe this athlete type, right? Right. We never want to just give a drill that said, oh yeah, this is going to make you throw 90. Like the Instagram reel world that we live in, like, oh, it took your thumb for 3 miles an hour. Like, yeah, maybe there is an athlete that works for, but at the end of the day, if there was one drill that worked for every athlete would throw 100 miles an hour, right? It's got to be super specific to what they need. And then it's really, maybe the drill itself is going to help them or should help them. And at the end of the day, it doesn't, right? We just have to continue to test and see which or what works for which athletes, and then come up with a good decision on how we utilize it.
I think baseball is such an interesting deal because we talk about it, you know, guys get in the batter's box, they all look different. But at the moment, it all comes into that same space. And it's the same with pitching. You know, they all start a little different, they all look a little different, but at that point where you're delivering, it all looks pretty much the same. And that's the goal, right? Because it doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there.
Our big thing is like constraint-driven drills. So it's not a drill. If there's a drill that requires minimal coaching that puts the athlete in a position to move as efficiently as possible, that's all we're looking for. Right. Because like we said, there are so many different athletes with so many different body types, where if you can put the same constraint on one athlete and they're going to move completely different than another athlete, but you can still get the same end result from the drill based on the constraint. If you're trying to get someone to have the same throwing motion that, you know, there's guys that throw from here and guys that throw from here. Well, the expectation of the end result shouldn't be that everyone throws from here, right? The end result should be that athlete figuring out how to do the drill the most efficient way for them. And that's what we believe is like the result of a good drill. The end result is an efficient result of how they move.
Yeah. And then you're dealing with high school kids as you are, and you know, just as we talk about what we've seen so far, all different shapes and sizes, especially at this age level, right? I mean, that's got to be, I think, the more difficult thing, and the more difficult as far as the age group, because you're dealing with so many different body types. Right.
And at the end of the day, like, we don't want them to get in the mindset that a drill is going to fix their issues, because their issue isn't a drill. The issue is usually not strong enough, don't weigh enough, and that's going to be the ultimate emphasis. Like, we give them things that are going to, you know, they're going to struggle with, or they're going to work through the constraints. And then the ultimate emphasis is like, hey, your body's going to change. If you're a freshman, your body's going to change a lot over 4 years, not only height, weight, but if you're in the weight room for 4 years, you're going to get stronger. Your body's just going to naturally adjust to all of those changes. A kid that throws from up here at 14 might not throw from up there at 18 because of how their body continues to change. So we're only going to like influence certain aspects that we know translate over years of training, while still pushing the biggest aspect, which is the weight room, adding weight, continuing to get stronger and just building an efficient plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, today we've been watching a couple different groups coming in. What are some, we saw you getting these kids going. So how are they finishing up here, Jake?
Yeah, so it's all dependent on the athlete. There's some guys that require a little bit more to their program based on what our table assessment. We'll do a bunch of mobility and correctives. All their lifting is kind of scheduled out based on their throwing programs. We have kind of 3 groups. We'll have like a Monday, Thursday, a Tuesday, Friday, and a Wednesday, Saturday group, just to kind of space out so that the mound gets a little bit freer and we're not waiting, an hour and a half to get on the mound. So all their lifting is kind of scheduled out based on when their mound days are. They'll all have some sort of mobility and correctives or some post throw that they got to work on. But for the most part, like, we've gone 5.5 months of training, so it's almost on cruise control. They know exactly what to do after they throw. So
when all this is said and done through the end of this, and we're heading into high school season, how much do you get out to the ballpark and watch the kids and kind of see what they're doing?
My ultimate goal is to see every single high school athlete pitch in a game. That's my ultimate goal. Or at least one of us see the high school athletes throw in a game. I got pretty close to it last year. It's really easy for the guys that are starters. They're pretty set schedule. The relievers, I can get lucky from time to time and go see a starter, and then a kid on the same team comes in and relieves, so I can knock 2 off there. I try and get out as much as possible, but again, we're still needed here just because guys need to throw.
Yeah.
Guys need to still lift. So we still have hours. It's just making sure that when I do leave, like, it's for a guy that's actually going to throw. It's not like, I might potentially throw today. Like, I'm on the rotation to do it. But we really just like to monitor our guys because it gives us feedback in here.
Yeah.
If a guy's starting and he's struggling, we have more information to go off of what we need to fix, what we need to work on. Because it's really easy to have a high school kid say, "Oh, my outing sucked," and really he punched out 8 over 4 and walked 2 and hit a guy and gave up a couple hits and a couple runs. Yeah, like, that's a pretty good outing.
You're all right,
most part, right? Or it's really easy to say, "Man, I've been really cruising. I've been doing really well."
Maybe he walked 4.
Yeah, like, he's spraying it all over the place. So it gives us more context when they come in here, and it's like, I got my midweek pen. Like, I didn't throw it at practice. I can throw it here. And then we have a true game plan to work off of. So then the guys love it. Like, for the most part, we'll take a bunch of video. Brett is really good about compiling it together and putting it on the Instagram or making videos with it. So just anything to get kids excited about being in here and really having success is big for us.
Appreciate you taking the time. And folks, I just want you to know, I appreciate what Jacob did because he doesn't like wearing a microphone.
I avoided him all summer.
Yes,
all summer.
But we appreciate it, buddy.
No problem. I appreciate it.
We're here. I got Austin Risch next to me. We're watching these kids go through this process. We relieve Jake of his microphone duties, which he's happy about, right?
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You always got to think a little more when you got a microphone on.
So you, Austin, we were talking earlier, you kind of just are here to support because Jacob's in charge of the high school kids. And that's what we're working with right now, right?
Yep.
So but we were talking a little bit just about the overall program, and I liked our conversation because, it was we were just talking about Premier and what it's about and the different things. And, I was saying to you, Cody was here and he abandoned you too. Right?
Yeah, no doubt. They're leaving me all out to dry.
Well, we were talking about application of knowledge. How hard is that? You guys are in the information business. So disseminating information, bringing people to an understanding of how to read data, that's got to be the biggest challenge, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think with that too, it comes into how much our knowledge of the information changes year after year. I was started as an athlete with P3 back in 2014. So it's been over 10 years for me now, like working with P3. And then like me and Cody were talking about that too, like how much it changes every single year, kind of like what we're doing and how we're applying the information. Like, I think that's the biggest part of it. It's not just getting stuck in like, here's our information that we got, here's what we got from it, and here's how we're going to do it for the next 10 years. It's like, oh, as we get more and more information, our thinking kind of changes, like just trying to stay up to date on that as much as possible.
I think that's a fascinating look because, you know, you've got all these athletes here. You're always talking about growth and maturity and getting better and working. So it behooves you to kind of do the same thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we have to really, like, we're going to get left behind if we don't, like, it's just the nature of it. So you got to stay on top of all that stuff.
So tell me some of the things that, you know, just in a broad scope, you don't have to get too detailed, you know, don't give away no secrets. I don't know if there is any, but you never know. But, you know, that things like that are growing each year that you can look at, that change, and you guys go, oh, we can do it better this way or this or that.
Yeah, I think like for me, it's been a lot with like the force plates in the weight room and everything. Just using those to get a better idea of like what we say it a lot, like capacity, like how much capacity an athlete has to perform, making sure we're not asking these kids to do stuff that they're not, you know, built up strong enough to do or like ready to do yet. I think using that a lot more has been like the biggest thing for us in the last year and a half, really, is just like, one, getting those and getting all the information in, and then two, like in the last probably 6 months is like, how do we use that information a little bit better now that we have so much of it? So I'd say like that's the biggest part.
Well, and two, as we're looking around here, you have these two young guys here. Now I know the camera's on, but they're, you know, they're good sized kids, but then we have this young man over here, looks like he's what, about 6'2", and then the other gentleman there, he looks like he's about 6'3", maybe 6'4".
Yeah, he's a big boy.
And who is that?
Derek Chubb.
Derek Chubb?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, so you look at the different sizes. It isn't a one size fits all.
No, and I think like that's where the force plates have been really cool, and seeing like, okay, for this kid, it's more important that you maybe are a little bit bigger and stronger and can use that. Maybe for you, it's not important that you're like getting a lot bigger and stronger. You need to make sure you're moving really fast, but we can't be moving fast because we're losing weight or anything like that. So it just allows us to get a better idea of like, this is the reason why you maybe have some success. Let's make sure we maintain that and work on kind of some of the stuff that is your weaknesses a little bit more.
Yeah, I love it because, I mean, everybody, and growth, physicality, it's just a matter of science.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's been like the fun part too, is keeping track of these kids, like especially the high school kids, like how much they change so much, like when it comes to like growth spurts, putting on weight, losing weight, stuff like that. Like just allows us to get a better idea of like, okay, how strong are you really based on all these like changes that we're seeing around it. So
I know, and it's interesting too. You guys have SSM right here with this. How much does that, do you guys, I don't know how much you guys interchange or work or with those guys.
I mean, it's a ton of benefit having them right here. Dalton Schumer kind of helps us out on Wednesdays typically and does a little bit of work with us on like our injured guys and stuff like that. And just having him to where I can maybe go to him of like, all right, this guy's got like a little hamstring thing he's dealing with. Like, what are some things I can do to kind of help him out? And just having like somebody who's a real PT kind of help me through that, because that's just not what I do. So it allows me to like focus on what I'm good at, and the stuff I'm not as good at, I can like reach out to help from, you know, SSM or even Jacob or Cody or somebody like that. So
last thing, because I know, as we were talking before, you work a lot with the college programs and things like that. So when when you're seeing these kids and whatnot and talking to them about their process and whatnot, how does having that experience help you talk to these kids a little bit?
Just makes it really simple for a lot of them of like, hey, like we know what it looks like to be a college baseball player, and we know like kind of the boxes you need to check to get your foot in the door there. And a lot of the times, I think like for most high school kids, it comes in the weight room where it's just like, yeah, you're just not on the same level as them. And now we have like these numbers here. So I can say like, hey, like this is where they're at. This is where you're at. Like you're not that far on the field away from where they're at, but you're a lot farther away over here. Like this is probably where the focus needs to be a little bit more. Just like that's where the biggest benefit I think is. It's just showing them where they're wanting to go a little bit clearer.
I like that. I like that. And two, we got to make sure people understand he is the gym DJ, and
I try my best. I try my best.
we've been rolling to some tunes today. It's been pretty good and having some fun. Thanks, Austin.
For sure, of course.
Okay, guys, you can see we're out here. We're in Fenton. We're at Champions Village. We're with Premier Pitching in Fenton. I have Wyatt McLaughlin, who just finished up getting the dynamic workout started. And why is that important here for you guys?
Yeah, so like biggest thing is just to be able to prepare the muscles and tissues for the task at hand in training. Took a good look around the facility and noticed that like guys' dynamics warm-ups were like super good, right? So I just needed to take a hold of that and bite that in the butt. And so leading group dynamic really promotes that camaraderie, right, between all the guys, and they go to different schools, so in the facility, but also just gets these guys ready to go for that training.
So your role with Premier is basically in that space. So
Correct.
All of these things. What are some of the things that are philosophically how you want these kids to prepare?
Yeah, so I mean, especially in like for preparation goes with the dynamic warm up, right? Doing a lot of hops, skipping, jumping. I mean, the throw in general, pitch in general, is just one of the most violent things in sports.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to do that repetitively. And so being able to be explosive repeatedly, doing a lot of different sort of tasks that involve that hop, skip, and jump, that reactivity piece of it is going to really put them, in front for success.
Very good. I like that. Thanks for taking a minute, man.
Not a problem. Not a
Appreciate
problem.
it. We're back here at the Fenton Premier Pitching Performance. I have Andrew Schwab with me. You're the director of this particular facility, correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And appreciate you letting us come down and
Appreciate you having you guys. Yeah.
chatting it up. We've crossed paths here and there. We saw each other this past weekend.
At Scout Connect.
Yeah,
That's
that's one of the things I love about this is you're always seeing people in different places. Hey,
Absolutely.
it's fun.
Yeah.
It really is. So we have a good time. So we've been going through this. So we've been watching you guys go through the program here. Talk to us a little bit about your approach, Andrew.
Well, really, it's kind of a holistic approach. We do a lot of assessing on the front end of our training. So we get guys in the assessment table, being able to see where they're at with mobility, helps us kind of paint a picture on what we're working with. Then when you add in the biomech, you add in the pitch quality stuff, and then I get to work with them every single day. You start to really visualize and see what you can do with them. And so on a day in, day out basis, we're really just trying to monitor their workload at the end of the day, right? We're getting them in the weight room, making them lift. Okay, so we're getting them stronger. That's all great. We're checking a lot of boxes. I would say one thing I do a little bit differently is really try to hammer in some of the movement things that we can be working on, right? So you'll see me using a lot of water bags. I like different throwing drills. It really just depends on what we're kind of dealing with that specific athlete. So try to get hyper individualized in here.
And that brings me to, I was watching you over here with the young man, and you were doing this drill. He had his foot out, then it was back, and he dropped it, and then dropped, and then boom, come down and throw out of that.
Absolutely.
What was that?
So really,
The dynamics of that.
I get it. I know it's kind of quirky and some
Okay,
in some sense, not a lot of people do that too. Really what I'm looking at is his hinge pattern in his back leg and trying to pair that with what I call a co-contraction, right? Like we want to be able to firm up in that hip at a certain point in our delivery. And really what I'm just holding him accountable on is being able to keep his pelvis at a higher angle because he likes to dump his pelvis forward a little bit more this way. So we're forcing him back in his glute a little bit more through that. And then now when you drop the water ball, you got to remember you're throwing a baseball. So there's a little bit of coaching involved. but it cleans up a lot of movements within the throw. Just that one drill alone can kind of target a bunch of different things. So these guys like it. The Schwab flavor is, HQ would call it, right? But it really it comes down to what we're dealing with that athlete. In this sense, we were working on his hinge pattern.
I love that because that's not so. And you didn't do it with the other guy. It was just him, particularly because of that particular issue.
Yeah,
right?
that particular movement strategy, if you call it, right? Whereas the other athlete, like we're working on a hinge, but he also needs to work on momentum and creating like kind of that carry out of his leg lift. So I was trying to get him moving a little bit more fast left to right, versus him just worrying about that static kind of position with the back hip. A little bit more of a dynamic movement for him too. And we were kind of targeting his torso as well with some of the upper body shaking stuff. So
Now I'm gonna drop this in here because we saw you. I don't know if we saw you down there or not, but I know we talked to Drew.
yes, sir. Drew Brown. Yeah.
In SEMO.
Yes.
And I saw
Coach
Wyatt over here. He's got the SEMO, so he's going down. Talk to us about that trip down to
Absolutely.
Southeast.
I had some coaches down there, some parents that were bringing their players up here to train with us in Fenton, and they were looking to grow some of their facility stuff down there too, and hit it off with the coaches and the parents and the players. So it just started going down there a little bit every once in a while, kind of just showing my face and making some friends. And before you know it, we had some kids coming in to see us and training with us. And then once they built that facility out, we were ready to go, So smaller sample size down there in terms of the training we're offering, but still really good baseball culture. I mean, that place is like crawling with talent, and those kids are hungry to learn. And quite frankly, I just enjoyed like being around the kids. So it makes it easy for me. I'd say the only hard part is driving, and bouncing back and forth between Fenton and SEMO, but like I enjoy it. And thankfully we got coaches in here that help me out with that as well. Having a family at home and trying to balance this baseball and family life, it can be tough at times. So you might catch me down there on a Sunday or down there on a Thursday, and then I'll be in here almost every other day of the week. So
Right. Well, man, Premier Pitching is I get to listen to Brett do his podcast every day.
really good at it, huh?
And so it's always intriguing to get, and then you come in here and listen to you guys. Everybody kind of brings a little bit of themselves into the program.
Absolutely. They've been open arms, honestly. They've given me a lot of freedom, but they've also guided me in certain ways to kind of help me keep everything looking how it needs to, right? I think one big scare with everybody doing something and trying to grow their operations and things is like you get somebody like myself come in trying to change all these things, right? And in which case I feel like I want to help, I guess. So collaboration's huge, so I try to have meetings with those guys as much as I can. Obviously, like, Brett being here today, he's going to pop in and check on us, right? We could sit down and have normal baseball talk. So definitely don't want to change who I am as a person though. So I always got to bring my personality into this and grow closer with the athletes and the coaches that I'm working with down here. And when I'm around them, I'm just fly on the wall. I try to listen and learn as much as I can. And not overstep. So
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
absolutely.
Andrew,
Appreciate it.
thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking time.
Thanks, sir.